All right, we are going to get started here in just a minute. All I ask is when you come up to the podium to speak, please sign in, indicate which company you represent and which agenda item you are presenting for. Please make sure to speak into the microphone so that we can get a good set of minutes and they're accurate. At this point, I think I'll turn it over to the chairman. It is 4:00.
All right, I'll bring to order, call to order the January 25th, 2024 Town of Somerville Design Review Board meeting. We have a couple of new board members with us. Tim, do we have any signs?
There are no signs.
First order of business would be old business then, correct?
First would be minutes.
You're right. Sorry about that. Is there a motion for approval of last month's minutes?
Motion to approve last month's minutes.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. First order of under old business is North Maple Street, proposed 336 unit apartment complex.
We need to do new officers.
Well, it says it at the end.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's always under miscellaneous, so give me a second here. They updated this and it's not working with me very well. All right. So the first item under old business is a request for preliminary approval of a proposed 318 unit family multifamily development on 18.3 acres. Property is zone GB general business. It is located on the east side of North Maple Street, south of Old Dairy Road intersection. The project was last in front of the board in October, where it received conceptual review. Based on initial review, the applicant has taken the board's request and changed up the building mix and also the siting of the buildings on the site, eliminating the street wall. The project also went to Tree Protection Board for conceptual review. The board pressed the applicant to preserve the stand of trees at the corner of North Maple Street and Old Dairy Extended. This ultimately results in the building at the corner being shifted away from the corner to preserve the highly graded trees at this location. The rear trail portion of the development parcel will remain a natural area and amenity area for the development. A natural light and shadow study has been provided. There's a mix of 2-story, 3-story, and 4-story buildings scattered throughout development, and the total number of units has been reduced from 336 to 318. 464 parking spaces are provided, and that's a 1.45 parking space ratio. This is lower than other similar projects. Bicycle parking has been provided. The landscape plan materials should be revisited. The trees proposed meet the minimum size at planting requirement, but the shrubs need to be looked at based on size. As far as architecture goes, cementatious lap siding, architectural shingles, and standing seam metal roof are proposed materials for the use in the development. I know the applicant is here, and I will turn that over to them to present.
And Tim, I'm going to recuse for this.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Chapman with Site Design. I'm the engineer for the project. And unfortunately, our client is stuck in Charlotte as a delay in his flight. So he flew up from Miami to enjoy Charlotte and he'll be flying straight back. So he's unfortunately not in attendance, but he's watching online. And then I will let Aaron introduce himself.
Good afternoon. Good to see a number of you again and some new faces as well. We heard what you said last time, both in the meeting and by written comments. And, you know, as was noted, we got to go to the Tree Protection Board and hear what some of their thoughts were. And so we've spent some time pulling those thoughts together and trying to be responsive to the comments that we felt would really help build this as a strong neighborhood and an extension of a destination for Somerville. And these are the changes that we came up with in the site plan you see here. The things I'd like to highlight, you can see along North Maple Drive, we now have 3 building types that are along North Maple Drive, as well as some green spaces and a landscaped and paved entry location. The buildings range from 2 stories to 4 stories. We have 2, 3, and 4-story buildings along North Maple. We have some of those 2-story buildings included inside the site as well. We've reduced the number of overall 4-story buildings. You also heard that we've reduced the number of units. We've also spent some time reorganizing the circulation within the site. You can kind of see our dashed line or dotted line that goes through the site that connects a number of the green spaces up to the amenity building, which is number 2. The idea that we're fostering walkability and a sense of community, as well as different destinations within this community. You know, you've got different green spaces of different sizes. The one that's right at the number 1 on the site plan aligns with the entry. So as you come into the neighborhood and transition from the public world into the private community, you know, you've got kind of this open green space that may have activities or events or things that could happen as kind of an arrival there. And then to the north, you know, that arrival, you're met with the clubhouse. You know, we still have the large tree preservation to the south tail, where we've got some walking trails and a gazebo there, which is another extension of outdoor activity spaces that are part of this community, as well as, again, rethinking the pedestrian circulation within. Any other site changes, Jessica?
I think that does a great job of highlighting them.
Okay. Let's go next slide, please. We also wanted to note that, you know, we know that Somerville's growing. There's some changes that are coming, and that, you know, this community is going to be part of the new front door to Somerville in some ways. You know, you come in off 26, you're potentially going to come down North Maple Drive and transition from the new face of Somerville into the more historic. And so this is part of something that's coming. You know, it's wanting to be appropriate in its scale and the way it addresses and helps establish a transition from the freeway outside and into Somerville. So you can see our site located here with potential sites of opportunity that are being established along North Maple Drive. Next slide, please. This is an aerial shot we have at North Maple Drive. You can see that main corner there. You can see the stand of tree saves that we're looking at preserving. This would be within an amenity area that would be a playground as well as a separated dog park up here at this corner. But these would be, old growth save. We've also got some of those along the eastern edge of the site. But you get a mix of the tree coverage and then the variety of the building types from this corner. You can see the variety of other buildings in the back. Immediately there is the clubhouse, but then you can see some of the 4 stories in the back as well as some of the 2-story apartments that are over the garages. Those are the carriage houses. Could you go next, please? So this is that same corner, but at a lower elevation. So right at the corner, again, you're going to be presented with those significant historic trees as kind of an anchor to the entry into the site. But again, you can see the variety of buildings behind. We've got 3, 4, and 1-story buildings that welcome you into the community. Next, please. This is the entry off North Maple Drive. Here we're highlighting the idea that you've got a landscaped paved entry. You can see that green just beyond as you would come into the neighborhood off of North Maple Drive. As a threshold as you transition from the outside into this community neighborhood where you're going to have activities, pedestrians, walkability, and you can see the variety of architecture. We are using predominantly lap siding and board and batten and smooth hardy panel in a variety. We have relooked at the architecture in a number of ways, again, trying to pull low country and southern vernacular. You can see up at the 3rd story on the building on the right, we've got kind of a detailed panel. There's also one down at the 1st floor, kind of a filigree accent, again, trying to break up the scale of these, but also provide some really high levels of detail that make these feel like homes for the individuals that are there and give the building some significant visual accents looking in. Next slide, please. This is a conceptual shot along North Maple Drive. You can see the buildings stepping in and out. We're just past that entry point. So you're not seeing the 4-story buildings. You're not seeing the 2-story building. You're not seeing some of the green spaces along there. But you can see that variation in how the buildings step. We're showing some screening there. The thought would be any and all condenser units or mechanical equipment that's outside the buildings along North Maple Drive would be screened as part of the project to kind of minimize the visual impact they may have and make it much more about the materiality and, celebrating the architecture. Next, please. This would be arrival off of the main corner and coming around and looking at the clubhouse. The clubhouse is a smaller scale. It's really a 1-story building, but we've got some volumes where we're trying to stretch. Some of these taller volumes are going to be open 24 hours. And so, these would be lit. There's some glass, there's some clear story, there's some storefront. The idea that these become kind of lanterns that are visible in the site as kind of wayfinding elements and also, architectural expression. We've got some split pitches and some different roof elements. Again, trying to break it up and not have it feel as just one mass. I think we were looking for something that maybe feels like it's been here a while. Again, reflecting some of the old growth that we are surrounded by. This is something that's established, that's been here. And how can we kind of reflect that as well with the activity and kind of playful nature that this is going to be like. This is the heart. This is the fun part. This is where you come for your mail. This is where you come for activities, the pool. There's a lot of things to celebrate here. So we want this to be the fun part of the site, or one of the fun parts, because we have more than one fun part. Next, please. This is the shot just outside of the front door. And again, you can see the different scale of the buildings. You can also start to see some of the detail that we're looking at framing, the windows with the mix of board and batten versus the siding. We're trying to play some scale games with the kind of frames at the end of the buildings. If you go next, please. You can really kind of see one of these framed elements we have on the 4-story that kind of present itself as a signifier of entry. Again, we are still using the standing seam with the kind of copper accent at all the major entry points to the building. The 3-story buildings have 3 entry points. The 4-story buildings have 4 entry points. And so all these kind of serve as front door markers to really help with wayfinding, but also to establish pops of color and some excitement and, again, help with wayfinding. Next, please. This is one of our outdoor spaces that Jessica has some wonderful thoughts on.
So he had mentioned multiple areas to kind of enjoy within the neighborhood from this area, which is the natural space with the gazebo. And personally, I can just imagine my kids going around looking for critters and bugs and other things to explore while the parents get to walk the trail and take their dogs throughout. And so it really gives you that opportunity to connect with nature as well as spend time with your children, which is an uncommon trait in apartment complexes, having designed many of them over the number of years in the past, as well as the large green space that he talked about before. As you're coming off of North Maple Street, that large green space gives you the opportunity to throw a football, kick a soccer ball, throw a frisbee with your friends, whatever it may be, coupled with that natural area of the dog park. And so with the dog park, you can have your kids playing in the playground, walk your dog, play your dog, not bake in the heat, but enjoy the natural tree coverage that's going to be provided there. And so there are a multitude of areas within the neighborhood that allow you to spend time with your family and just enjoy the outdoors, as well as of course the amenity of the pool where you can cool off on a hot summer day. And so we really feel like this is taking that opportunity to create destination locations within the neighborhood for you to spend time with your children and your family, or spend time with your spouse, however it may be.
This slide is an aerial, as you can see, but the focus is kind of the 3 points on the far left. We've got that significant portion of existing tree save. We have the tree save between our site and the existing homes that would be on the east side of the site, but that's all old growth. And then also up at the front corner. So we've got kind of these three decently sized, established old growth areas. There's some additional trees that are being saved throughout the site that were identified. But you can see the variety of the buildings. You can see the connectivity opportunities and the neighborhood aspect of this that we've tried to work into providing different feelings of activity, connectivity, and opportunity. Can we go next, please? So this takes us back to that main corner. We welcome your feedback. We like to think that we heard what you said, but I think there's still more to digest. I think there's still more to add to this, but we feel that this is a good blending of tree preservation, community, opportunity, as well as a neighborhood. So we would welcome any feedback you have.
Do you have any sample boards of the finished materials or the colors?
Inside, we did not bring physical ones with us. Inside, we did call out the Sherwin-Williams colors that we were intending. The shingles, the base materials. So we've got kind of a charcoal dark gray, a white, and we've shifted the color palette and some of the materiality a bit from where we were last time. The thought being that we wanted to pick something that was much more rustic's not the right word, but something that was much more aligned with nature. We felt this was a little more earthy. The tree saving becoming critical. We wanted to kind of reflect that in some ways. So,
Can you explain what some of these materials are? Just the dark
sure.
board and batten and
Yes, in this one, the upper, the dark is the board and batten. We've got white trim around the windows. The windows are white. We've also got some white siding. That was kind of in the middle piece there. And then the lower is lap siding, cementitious lap siding that we're doing in the green. And we've also got some elements of brick. On this side of the building, the brick signifies the entry and also under the balcony. These are the carriage units. So it's 2 apartments above parking. I don't know if you want to advance a little bit. Maybe we could go to like the 3-story. Yeah, one of these might be good as a little bit larger building, but a little bit similar strategy. Here are the green elements. We were wanting those to be a little bit more columnar, kind of vertical expression. So that is smooth cementitious panel with hardy trim kind of accents to break that up. We've got the white lap siding and then the dark at the top with the board and batten accents.
is this little green swatch the actual color or close to it, or and what's the inspiration for something that limey?
So that is the color swatch number if you go to Sherwin-Williams. It is on my screen, not that limey. It's a little bit more muted, green gray, inspired by, leaves and the tree colors was the push to green. I think the specificity in which green, we've also played with, maybe there's green across the different buildings to break it up even more. Lime was not the intent, but,
Peter, look at, if you can, right up behind you. I think it's a better representation up on the big screen than on those monitors up there.
It's more sage.
Yeah,
It's a more
It's
sage
more about-
color than.
sage, yeah, so. let's-
When I pull it up, it looks more safe.
Yes.
yeah,
Color.
it's
bit.
definitely not neon limey green.
So I'm hearing no lime, we're with you, and I'm hearing physical sample.
Which we would definitely be doing at the next meeting, fully our intent to do so. Thank you for bringing it up on your phone as well.
So this color palette and material palette and finish palette appears on every building. There's no change,
I think the clubhouse does have maybe one or two elements that may be introduced to that, but the base of the design is currently using this palette, yes. I think we wanted to arrive at a palette that we felt comfortable with collectively before we maybe started doing, one-off variations. I think we like to see neighborhoods and communities where there is some variation, but not necessarily every building wants to be a completely unique experience, right? Because you're part of this community, you're part of the neighborhood, so we want it to feel like it belongs.
can you show us some other buildings?
Yes, if you go, this is the 4-story. So this one has brick elements and the copper standing metal seam at the entry elements. You can see at the ends and in the middle. We've got kind of a brick base that we run around it to kind of establish the base of the building. Some of the detail that probably reads a little bit better inside of the or from the perspectives, but some of the trim games we're playing with the patterning of the siding and the window details, trying to express some kind of colonnades along the facade of the building. We have those at the balconies. We have those kind of panels at the 3rd and 1st floor that we talked about in terms of offering shading for the residents, but also offers a depth of detail to the elevations and the architecture. Do you want to go one? Yeah, so this is the small cabana. This is adjacent to the pool. This is, kind of an activity room that you, can sign up for and, host a birthday party or a dinner or something like that. So it's next to the pool. It's part of the amenity complex. It's a mix of brick, the copper standing, the copper and metal standing seam, as well as some of the dark smooth hardy panel. Go to the next one. It's the let's do one more and get to the club. Yeah, this is the main clubhouse. So the upper elevation, you see the main entry. Again, the copper denotes entry wayfinding. And then you see the other tall mass back there. That's actually the fitness. It does have a mezzanine in it, so it has like a partial floor, so you get 2 floors within that space, but it reads as one volume for lighting. So when that's active, that whole larger volume is going to glow. We have a variety of spaces in there that are looking in, looking out.
Question for you. You obviously have done the copper for the entryway. Is there a reason why you have asphalt shingles and the tin colored, the standing metal seam accent on the same building? Was there a thought process behind that?
So I would say, in that instance, the special volume, the main entry is what gets the standing metal seam, and the rest of the building kind of plays back to that. At the front, we did do a split pitch where we get a lower slope, and we did do that as an extension of the standing metal seam as well. But there was a goal to have some variety, but also to call out kind of the special moments within the buildings.
Why did you change roof material? Is one of these a metal roof and then everything else is just shingles?
Yes, so the light gray that you see there on the bottom elevation where it says courtyard elevation, you see the side, the light gray side, that's the main entry volume. So that one, and then that would be the volume you'd read at the main entry elevation at the top that has the copper roof in front of that. So that piece, that's the main entry, that's kind of a 2-story volume. That's, where you're welcome, the leasing office, all that's off that, as well as entry into the other activities is that volume. So as a special piece, we did use a different roof there just to kind of denote its character.
But the cabana only uses one roof material in the metal, correct?
The cabana did, yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I think this building, just as I'm looking at it, lacks a lot of low country detail. Is there a reason, I think there is an opportunity to make it really low country since it's a isolated building, it's a community building. I'd like you to take a look at perhaps some details.
Okay.
I think the massing is good. The window placement is good. I think it just lacks details.
Okay.
Low country details.
Okay. I mean, we can.
And then there's a lot of shed roof on this whole development. Was there any opportunity to put any gables or to break up the shed? Because if you go to your aerial and take a look at that, and
The main buildings are predominantly gable at the ends, right? But
At
from
the
the
end,
front,
right.
yeah, I mean, but we did look at, the building changes width slightly. So we've got opportunities where those if you look at it in pure elevation, the roof isn't the same.
what is that difference? It looked very subtle, like less than a foot.
It's 2 feet to 30 inches is what it is. I mean, it's
It
got to
is?
be enough to get siding in there to get, yeah, you can start to see that here. It's going to be the building in the back or to the middle, but you can see those breaks that we've done. And then the gables at the end are what capture our kind of framed element that we're using for those open breezeways and those entries at the end.
You have a preponderance of gable roof.
Sorry,
Preponderance of gable roof.
we do have a lot of gable. We looked at, I think our first design actually was hip on the big building and as well as quite a bit on the smaller ones. But we looked at an opportunity with the gables to, either have material change or color change, like we can see here in the clubhouse at the front. But then also the larger building in the back that gave us an opportunity to kind of have that framed element sit back there with that's brick and siding, kind of within that gable, that kind of helps break the scale down of that edge. But also let the roof recede back visually with the hip roof. Everything kind of comes over the edge and hangs out over you. With this, we were able to pull it back by using that gable.
I saw you did a sun study as part of the package.
We did.
You want to talk about that?
Sure, we can if you want to jump into that. Thank you. So we start with summer. You can see we have our 3 times 9, 12, and 3 in the afternoon. Things we would look at are the main green spaces and open areas we have, get good sunshine throughout the day, as well as the pool area. So summer, we, are happy with what we're seeing here. If we move to the next slide, this is going to be, mid-year. This is going to be the equinox. So March and September, mid-season. You can see the shadows start to get a little bit longer, but during the day and the afternoon, those green spaces are still predominantly covered in sun. So we're finding a lot of opportunity for, the 3 green spaces to really welcome use almost year round, as long as temperature and rain permits. And then if we go to winter, here you can start to see the long shadows. We still have some opportunity in the afternoons for those green spaces to be open. I would note that, our shadows stay predominantly on our site or onto North Maple. We're really not having shadows, excursions onto other sites that, are putting them in shade within our buildings. So with the reconfiguration of the sites and kind of opening it up, we did like what we were seeing with the opportunity for how those spaces would be used. Were there any specific questions you had in regards to the sunset?
I think you did a good job with the sighting. Can you talk about the traffic pattern, expected traffic pattern, how cars are coming in and out and where they're parking and
Would you mind going to the main site plan? You'd work your way down. That's probably more than sufficient. So I would anticipate that the majority of traffic would be coming off of North Maple Street into Old Dairy Road Extension, since it's not the right in, right out only access. And so the flow through the site, other than the couple of pocket parking areas, provide a well-defined circulation through the site for finding parking. I would anticipate that likely 75% of the parking would come off of Old Dairy Road Extension. We have not commissioned for the traffic study to be updated yet from the previous site plan, because it is going to be affected dependent on the unit count, and we did reduce the unit count with this design. So we wanted to make sure that it was acceptable to you before we spent that time and effort. And so at this point, in terms of parking, I know you had said it's 1.45 to 1 ratio, which is greater than the 1-to-1 ratio. It doesn't meet a 1.5 to 1 ratio, but given similar projects that have been done by the same developer, and of course, Somerville is very unique, but we have found that parking ratio should be more than substantial. Plus, we have bike parking throughout the site that would provide those opportunities to people to access by bikes, which has been further defined on Old Dairy Road Extension by providing wider trails for access by bikes, was the thought process with working with your engineering department. And so in our parking fields, they've been laid out to provide the tree coverage that's required per your regulations, as well as additional trees beyond that for the cover that everyone seeks when they're looking for their parking spot. There are areas that are compact space parking as allowed by your ordinance, but it's not the maximum. And we're looking at providing wheel stops everywhere that it sits on sidewalks, which isn't required, but I'm a big stickler of that. I do not like cars hanging over a sidewalk where I can want to walk. It's very annoying to me personally. So that will provide the opportunity for people to have free flow of pedestrians without having to interact with car bumpers.
Is this site plan based on the TIA of the last one? With the more units,
So.
or at least the traffic movements? Because here's my concern.
Mhm.
That taper, that right over movement coming northbound
Mhm.
isn't very long. What is that, 100 feet of stacking, if that?
So you're talking about Dairy Road Extension, correct?
As you're headed northbound on Maple and then take a right on Dairy, if you match that with the taper on the left-hand movement on Old Dairy versus Old Dairy Extension, it's significantly shorter, it looks like.
So this does align with the previous traffic study.
Mhm.
And so the only thing that's really changed from the previous study that was provided by the other developer was that Old Dairy Road Extension had a much more abrupt taper in once you came off of North Maple Street, and that's been elongated. But beyond that, it pretty much follows the traffic impact study as was prepared for the previous development.
With the more units, correct?
I
We
believe
have
so,
fewer units.
but we have
That's what I
few-
mean.
Yes,
We have
yes.
fewer units.
yes.
Basically, you have the same access.
We have the same access, other than, again, making the taper less abrupt, making it more gradual coming in.
You have better access.
That's the hope. And then I still need to coordinate with the engineering firm on the other side of the street once we get preliminary approval, and just confirming that everything perfectly lines up with the improvements that they have on the other side. And then really everything permitting wise is going to be through the town of Somerville. And so you guys will have complete control. The only permitting that's going to be through the DOT is just the restriping on the other side of North Maple Street on Dairy Road. And so everything else will be completely under the review of Town of Somerville. And again, I've already started that process and trying to address their concerns and comments for the design.
I think as far as the site, you guys have really tried to do what we've asked. I'm not sure that I'm still sold on the 4-story building being on the frontage of Maple Street. And then as far as the looks of the building, I'm not the architect, but it just looks like you're trying to do too much to me. Too many materials, too many colors. But I'm not the architect. So.
I think you ought to get to the low country look, like Peter was saying. Try to integrate more of the low country look into the mass of the building.
And we certainly
Let the architect do his thing, go for it.
we certainly welcome any of those comments. If approved for the preliminary, we would go ahead and implement those changes in the final submittal, and so making it more of a low country feel. And kind of as I drive around, I definitely feel that in the neighborhood. It reminds me a little bit of home, but home wasn't here.
I would review two things. One, the drawings that says Maple Drive on it, I'd get that off and put North Maple Street.
I understand that.
And then, there's a comment by staff that the shrubbery sizes were inadequate. Go to the ordinance on shrubbery sizes in your landscape plan, just double check those.
I will work with Tim to get those corrected. Those were prepared by my firm, so most certainly.
Have you started looking at site lighting and building exterior lighting?
So that was going to be our next step since it is in the final submission. And so once you were good with the general layout of the trees, because I've always found that landscape architects and the folks that lay out the lights seem to find the same spots. And so once we were locked down on the tree locations, we were going to go ahead and work with someone to prepare the photometric plan.
Is that going to include lighting along the pathway in that planned south area across the creek?
It will, and I would anticipate that lighting is going to be more low-level path lighting versus other lighting. There would probably be lighting on the gazebo as well, but it's not going to be large lighting that's meant to bleed into the neighbors.
You talking about
areas.
wall packs on the buildings as well?
I think that
Sorry?
would be.
Wall packs on the buildings for lighting?
Oh, like on building lighting, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Limited elements. I mean, I think we would like to see something at the exterior of the building, at the entries and
Mhm.
things like that. But, we do try and limit it as well because, imagine the sign or the light outside your window at night, so we're trying to be thoughtful in that respect. So a lot of that lighting may be low level site lighting at the building lighting would be at those entry points.
Safe but unobtrusive lighting.
No vote, preliminary.
No,
vote on conception.
Uh,
No vote on conception.
so this is preliminary, so we do have to vote.
yes.
Who wants to be in charge of the vote? You're in charge, Pete. Take a vote.
Technically, Bill, I guess, because the former chairman or vice chairman is not here anymore. I guess we would go to the most senior person. You want to run it? And not by age, I'm talking about time on the board.
Motion to approve.
Experience.
Yes.
Motion to approve based on the comments. Preliminary vote.
I second.
All in favor? Got a
Aye.
second?
I second.
Got a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
No,
Ayes
no,
have it.
thank you.
You have.
Did you have any
preliminary?
questions?
No, I mean, I think we, again, are hearing what you're saying, more low country. And we can find ways to incorporate that. And we look forward to the written comments as well. And we'll make sure that we fold those into the neighborhood.
If you can also bring a sample board.
Physicals, yes, yes. Oh, and no lime green. I did hear that.
No line.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Dumpster locations. I don't see them on these plans.
So the dumpster, do you see the number 3?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
dumpster's actually there. And so if you were to zoom in or go to the site plan, you'd see that the dumpster is sitting right to the left of that 3. It's just the angle that you're looking at.
And just one for the entire 300 units?
One for the entire facility, but a larger one to accommodate.
I assume it's shielded or clad, correct?
It is.
It has to have enclosure.
And what does that look like?
So
Same as
currently
the
the
building.
enclosure is brick from our standard detail,
Brick,
but it
okay.
can be modified, but it is standardly brick. So. But if you look at our site plan, you'll see it in more detail as well. It's just that site plans aren't as pretty. I wish that I could say my job was as pretty, but it just isn't, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to remind the board members, push the little button on the microphone so that the green light is on, so that everybody in the audience can hear you. Just that reminder. So item number 2 on the agenda is a request for preliminary approval of the proposed development of a food truck parking lot. And this is specifically for the ice machine that the board had requested they bring back for final approval at the December meeting. You provided final site approval in December, and they have come back here this month with the proposed ice machine. I do want to highlight, I did misspeak. We did have a couple of ice machines that had previously been approved. This is on Ladson Road in front of the Gilligans, next to the Dollar General, fully screened, enclosed. I believe this one is slightly older, has less screening, but this is located on Boone Hill at the gas station. This is the proposed site. The applicant has provided a roof truss detail, which is next for covering the proposed ice machine. No walls are proposed because all graphics have been removed from the sides of the ice machine, is per the applicant's explanation. Signage on the Boone Hill location, I want to go back to those, far exceeds what we would normally permit for signage on a building. We only allow 10% of a building facade to be dedicated to signage. This is closer to probably 70%. I didn't do the math. I know during the discussion last month, additional screening was discussed for the ice machine as well as the porta potties that are proposed to be provided. That has not been shown or provided is per explanation from the applicant. The roof truss and I guess gazebo type structure would strictly go over the proposed ice machine. So I know one of the applicants is here and I can turn it over to them to provide further details.
Hello, I am Jessa Carter, and I am the one that's proposing the, for the ice machine. And I apologize. I did not realize that I thought with removing the graphics that the screening would not need to be present. Because if it's going to be enclosed, does the graphics really have to be removed? And the reason I ask that is because removing is going to cost me money as well. So if I'm enclosing and removing graphics, you know, if it's going to be enclosed, what's the purpose of removing graphics?
So what are,
Once you leave the graphics on, it's the flattest work on.
I mean, that's fine. There's also, and I had Sarah, the engineer that was here. There also was alongside on wood duct that's there. that provides screening. Is about 27 feet away from the ice machine. She highlighted it in red. Tim, do you want one? So I didn't know if that, we didn't talk about that at the last meeting, but it was on the site plan that was approved. So essentially what I did, to my understanding, was from the last meeting to provide a roof structure over the ice machine. And then to remove the graphics from the advertising. And so that's what I've submitted was for the roof structure for over the ice machine and then removal of the graphics.
Thank you for that. I think, what we had talked about was the roof structure that acted as an enclosure on the sides to
Right,
hide the
use-
ice machine.
use the roof structure post for the wall on the 3 side.
Right, yeah, it was supposed to have 3 sides.
And the
And
problem, one of the problems is this ice machine I'm looking at is not the same size as what's going on Suffolk.
So it's,
Tie down the size of the machine.
Yeah. yes, that will happen. Yes, sir.
And I think we also talked about screening the porta potties as well.
I'm not part of the porta potties,
So what are you only part of?
the ice machine.
So you're not representing the developer, just the ice machine.
Yes, sir.
The developer's not here.
The owners are not here. No, sir.
On site only, with the requirement that they come back for approval for the ice machine. Given that it would be a permitted use and, improvements to the screening for ice machine and porta potties.
So they're gonna have to come back.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're presenting the enclosure that they are building.
I'm building.
You're building. So can you walk through the details of the enclosure?
So, it's just like a pole barn shed that we talked about. It does have to be up to 13 feet high, so I can get to the top of the coolant and all that kind of stuff up top, just so that it can lift up. It'll have a metal roof. It can be color, whatever color y'all would like, to be approved. It would have the 4 poles and we could enclose it as well. And I didn't realize, like I said, I didn't realize it till the meeting yesterday. And so what I'm proposing is just enclosing it with the 6x2s wooden slats for siding.
Can you, I think, refresh my memory, what size is that covered structure? I think it's, wasn't it 12 by 20?
I believe so. Well, I thought what we had talked about last time was where he's got the hand doing that as the opening and then putting the handicap spots. They're going to put the handicap spots in front of there.
Park spot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they can walk around the end. So
So,
normally the end of the machine, the narrow end of the machine is the end of the machine that dispenses ice.
Yes, sir.
So it should face wood up.
so the,
You should have it open so you can get to it.
They're saying it's gonna be open at the parking.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. Because that's the side of the ice machine, you have to walk around in the enclosure to get ice out of it. No. Yeah.
It's open on that end where they get the ice.
No, it's not. You said something. That is the longitudinal end of the ice machine. The ice machine is.
So if you go to the picture of the ice machine, right there. Yes, sir. So where it says cooler ice and all that right there, that would be the front of it that would be open where he had the hand. Okay.
So
You would not see it. If
I don't-
it opens up to wood, you wouldn't see it.
how are you gonna see it from central?
Open your eyes and look across the property and
But the, which dimension is the 12 by 20 on the site? Because it's not shown on the site plan. Is the,
So 12 is where he had the hand. Right there. And then 20 would be the long one.
well, 20 is going
left and right.
left and right.
That's one.
Yeah, so it's parallel with, somewhat parallel with Central Avenue and parallel with the long side is parallel with the rear property line.
That's right.
Okay, so why don't we put the ice machine under it, rotate it so you don't see the signs, and put the lattice around it like we talked about. That gets us where we said last time.
Being three sides, not wood duck sides. The wood duck side can be open because it's screened by that fence. That's there.
It's incomplete on
Okay.
data, so we're trying to figure
This
it
is
out.
very confusing. I mean, the concrete pad, it says 12 by 10,
My question.
and it's not 20 by 12.
So the reason for the difference is it's going to be closer to that size, the building itself. The manufacturer is going to have to make it for us. That was just something that is close to it to provide as an example of what they can do. Does that make sense? Sorry. I'm
does.
sorry. I'm not an engineer. I'm not any of these
I
things.
think the
I'm sorry.
drawing needs to reflect what you want to do,
Mhm.
and not for us to speculate or you to decide it's really not 12, it's really 20, or.
'Cause
So I
if the
think,
20 feet is east to west.
I mean, 20 is huge.
Well, yeah, then that 27.5 measurement's not accurate.
And is the machine 20 feet long?
No,
What is-
sir.
No.
What's the purpose of the 20 feet? Or you're saying it's not 20 feet?
It's
Well,
not.
So you can push the machine and have enough and stay in the drive. Cause it is about 8 feet wide.
But I think she's saying it's not gonna be built
Huh?
20 feet, or is it?
No, it's gonna be about 12 feet long,
No,
Yes.
which would leave you 8 feet roughly to walk in front of the machine and buy your ice.
I think we should tell them what we want, what we would approve, have it
Okay.
done at a committee level.
Well, we can do that.
Okay.
They did apply for
Yeah.
preliminary. So if you don't feel like they're at the level of final, you can just give preliminary and they have to come back for final approval. So if you feel like the building structure is appropriate, we just need to flesh out the details. What color is the roof? Are you going to put slats on the three sides? Deal with that. What's the actual size? Get a representative detail of that structure. Is it 12 by 10 or is it 12 by 20? If it's just a canned exhibit that shows two bays, hide one of the bays, make it so that it's, only one bay deep. I think that would be the most appropriate. I think the board needs to determine which way is this thing facing? Which end is open? Which way is the ice machine dispensing? I think that's going to be helpful to them to be able to produce what you're going to be able to approve.
I assume you want the front of the machine to be facing central.
I did. Yes, sir.
But he has a longitudinal longer dimension facing central, which doesn't jive with the dimensions of an ice machine. So, and we can straighten it out pretty quick and pretty easy. Think about 15 minutes of sketching.
That's great. I mean, are we talking about like doing a workshop?
We can do it right now if you want to. You got a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to do it.
Tell us what size the metal pit, the shed is supposed to be.
So the shed will be, can I grab my phone?
Hmm?
So what was proposed is what the manufacturer for the slab recommends is the 12 by 10. I can make the building as large as y'all want. I mean, it can be 12 by 10. I can make it 12 by 15. I can do whatever. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it approved, just with some direction.
Want to do that?
I mean, is it able to face central? Are y'all completely opposed to that?
I am.
It's not gonna be any worse than food trucks.
Huh?
It's not gonna be any worse than food trucks, except that it's gonna be there all the time.
Except it needs to change size if it's gonna face center.
Greg was wrong, but the point of taking the graphics off was so nobody would see it. If we're gonna do the graphics on there and just cite it, but it's still exposed to central, you're still gonna see the graphics from central.
You're gonna see everything if it's
No.
facing center.
Didn't you say last time, there's no lights? And the food truck site is not in operation, correct? So this is dark. It's not gonna be a bright beacon of an ice vending machine.
I can cut lights off.
2 AM.
I mean, I can cut, it does come with lights, but I can cut the lights off if that's what you want.
You're actually gonna need lights if you're gonna sell ice at night.
Was that the intent though? When the food truck is not operating?
That was something that we had to get with town with.
Technically,
Remember, food trucks
so-
cannot stay there. They gotta leave when they get through selling.
Yeah, there's two different things here. The food trucks, which are already approved, need to meet our food truck ordinance. So they will not be permitted to stay on site and will need to go and take all of their trash and whatnot with them when they leave.
Dispenser's gonna be here.
The ice machine, we classify as general retail. We don't have like a vending machine or outdoor sales or anything along those lines. The zoning for this property allows for that to occur. Zoning also does not restrict hours of operation. So we don't have the ability within the zoning ordinance to tell them that they cannot operate for 24 hours, 7 days a week. I think that would be pushing it in your guys' authority to be able to put a limit on that as well. So, I think you need to establish ways to mitigate negative impacts as opposed to, dealing with the use. The use is permitted. How do we mitigate it?
Question for you, Tim. If this is oriented where the face of this face is central, and the purpose of the shed is longer than the machine so you can walk under it and stay dry while you're getting ice. The way I see this is either we're taking out landscaping or we're taking out a parking space. If that's the case, does this not need to be re-reviewed from a site plan perspective?
It's possible. I think that the intent of the structure was to screen the machine from Wood Duck, which is a residential street, as well as the residential neighbor plan north. Central Avenue is a heavily trafficked road. I think it makes more sense to face the dispensing portion of the machine towards Central. It's my personal opinion.
But then they need to rotate it 90 degrees. Because it needs to be 10 foot facing central and 20 foot going parallel.
Well,
with
I
it.
don't think I think you've grabbed onto the 20 feet. This is
So
just
that's
a
where you're
canned
going on
detail. It's a canned detail from the manufacturer.
Right, I
It's
think
just a representative
You can make
detail.
any length.
This one right here.
You just happen to pull a drawing that says 20 feet, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
How tall is this again?
it's gonna be 13 feet.
Good God.
so
12 by 10 concrete.
and I think the large pine trees at the front will also provide some screening visually. So I'd rather have, I think for the neighborhood, which the neighbors are already concerned about this. I've had a couple of conversations with neighbors as it relates to the overall food truck idea there. They're not particularly thrilled with the new addition of this 24-hour ice machine. So I think facing it away from the neighborhood and towards the street is a better option with proper screening.
Say the last part again. please.
I think facing it away from the residential neighborhood, open end of the screening structure facing Central Avenue with the machine dispensing out that way is the best way to mitigate the issue.
That would be okay, but what size is the machine gonna be? 10 by 20 or 10 by 12?
It's 13 feet tall.
And it's 13 feet tall.
It's not well, the machine's not 13 feet tall. The roof is just for clearance to
You
get
need that-
into the top of the machine.
Jenny, you need that roof on there?
I'm just,
You really don't need the roof.
what roof on what y'all are
The ice mach-
asking?
That blue roof on the ice machine, it looks like a
That's just covering up the,
compressor,
sir?
compressor it sits on there.
Yes, sir. But it opens up to get down into the machine. Like the roof opens up like this. So
Okay.
I've got to have clearance underneath that roof to be able to open that up.
I understand that if you have a roof, but you don't have to have a roof.
On the machine, you can have the roof on the pavilion, on the shelter.
Yeah,
pole barn.
yeah, that way you can just get to the top of the machine.
This doesn't, this page does not have, that I see, what the height of the pole barn is.
It'll be minimum 13 feet in the center or max, just so I can get that, if there's an issue, we can get down into it. That's all. Otherwise, I'm having to take the roof off of the building itself.
We need that on the drawing. That's why this is very incomplete. That's why we're confused. That's why we're going back and forth.
Gotcha.
I appreciate the explanation. So this is gonna be a minimum of 13 feet tall.
Yes, sir.
So we need the plan updated with the height, the actual size, the orientation of the machine. And hopefully it fits on the site plan that was previously approved. Is that what I'm hearing?
Or they change the site plan.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, so they could fit minimally it's gonna be a 13 by 10 by 12, right? Or maybe it's 20 and you walk under it like you have. But I think we need to make a motion and tell them what to do rather than them having to come back. Yes.
I agree. We need to kill this.
So I think it needs to be,
We need to agree to as much as we can with what they've asked for, which is a 10 by 12 shed or 12 by 20 shed.
and we don't know the material before we make any motions or anything like that.
It's
It says
treated-
3 foot wide metal roof panel.
It's treated lumber.
Okay, but how high is it?
It is this height right here.
Right. No, how high do those slats go?
They go all the way up. to
That's
the-
not what it says.
Well, they need to go all the way up to the roof.
Yeah, this is generic.
Oh, yeah,
engineering drawing.
yeah, the slats will go all the way up to the roof.
Yeah, but I think we need the plan.
The slats need to start where the bottom of the roof trusses are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the ridge. And just go to the ridge.
Yeah, it's gonna go from the top, from right under the roof all the way down.
That's on
All right, I
the
think,
other end, you're gonna go from the flat all the way to the ridge.
Correct.
Okay. Bottom line, we need updated drawings that you are clearly indicating what it's going to be. What the dimensions are, heights, width, how far the slats go up, what the colors are, bring color samples. Show how it's gonna be screened, show the orientation. The engineer needs to put it on the site plan.
Okay,
The engineer needs to put it on the site plan. They're the
Okay.
ones controlling the slab. Needs to be on the site plan. This has gotta be more than the stock kind of cut sheet or whatever it is. It's gotta have all that stuff clearly labeled on it with colors.
And you should indicate the ice machine within the pavilion. So we know
Yes.
what kind of clearances there are, what the height is, and also show some illumination of what is being proposed. And I don't know if you need concrete footings on this thing when you have a slab. So it's just confusing. It's disjointed.
Eliminate confusion. It'll go much smoother, much quicker.
Is there gonna be a slab or is it just gonna be gravel?
no, there's a slab.
There is a slab?
Yes, sir.
This drawing doesn't show any slab.
Right. Plus, if you
The
can
drawing
tell
doesn't show a slab.
Well, it shows a
The
this detail,
building detail doesn't show.
on the
the flat.
pavilion detail.
This one.
Right, but then this one does not.
So I don't know if these footings are sitting on top of the slab, under the slab. But if you can indicate to the owner that the porta potties have to be addressed too in the next submittal.
So whoever's running the truck thing needs to handle the porta potties.
Do we want to make sure they coordinate what they do with the porta potties with what she's doing with the ice machine? So it
Yes.
has, it's,
Can I ask a question? I know there was talk about them potentially not even going to do the porta potties. If they don't do the porta potties, do they need to come?
It needs to be taken off the site plan.
Okay. Can we meet via committee this?
I'm fine with it. If you wanna do that, I'm fine with it. I don't know about y'all.
Well, someone would have to make a motion and cover whatever that motion is, you know, kind of things we listed, whether it's a committee or not. So, I'm gonna call for a motion. We're asking for preliminary approval. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we grant preliminary approval with the understanding we're gonna have a committee meeting between now and time we meet next month,
Yes, sir.
and that we will cover the ice machines as we discussed today. And if the porta potties are gonna be installed, we will discuss that also.
Okay.
That would be set up and coordinated between you and Tim.
Is there a second to that motion? So it's preliminary with, conditions. And one of those conditions is there's a committee. Is there a second? And we can second it, and then we can discuss it.
second.
All right, any further discussion?
I think we need to clearly delineate what she needs for next time, but more importantly, since she has nothing to do with the porta potties, we probably need the actual developer part of this conversation.
It's fine.
I think we need to have the meeting just because we need to get this over with.
Yeah.
This is what, our third meeting,
My second.
your second. but
Yes, sir.
third in total, I think. We need to get it done. I keep going by that lot looking for a food truck. I don't see it.
Trying.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, just to be clear, if when it goes to committee, that would be probably final submittal. It depends on what they ask for.
Yeah,
It's all good.
typically, when you guys have done committees in the past, it's usually 2 or 3 members who review what's submitted by the applicant through email. And usually this, just like some minor final colors, et cetera. This to me sounds slightly different. It would have to be an advertised meeting if I have a quorum. So how many people are gonna be present? I just need those details so I can do this the right way. You tell me how you wanna do it. You can give preliminary, say, come back for final with these final details instead of trying to do a committee.
Whether she passes preliminary or not, she's going to come back one more time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the committee is gonna serve a purpose. So it's not how we normally operate,
Right.
so,
Even if she's denied preliminary approval, when she comes back next month, she can get final approval, correct?
yeah, and that, but you made a motion for preliminary approval. Yeah,
Okay, we'll call for a vote for preliminary approval. I'm a no. Else?
No,
No. Okay.
so how many was that?
That was 4 no's.
No.
No.
5 notes?
It was yes. Okay, so we need to entertain a new motion. It can be preliminary with conditions as a or it can be just a denial of preliminary and they come back to their normal meeting.
Make a motion that we deny.
Is there a second?
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You opposed? All right, thank you. And if you need more info, I think Tim could probably fill you in. Thank you very much.
All right. So the third item under old business is a request for final approval at 603 West Fifth North Street. This is a proposed new 5,000 square foot office building. I apologize, the staff report says preliminary. They did receive preliminary approval at the December 21st meeting. The property zone NMX, neighborhood mixed use. Update, a tree removal permit has been applied for. The site plan should be overlaid on the tree survey to show how trees have been taken into account for the design and layout of the site and buildings. All landscape islands must meet the minimum size requirements of section 8.5.3. The center parking spaces. Let's get to the site plan for you guys.
And if I could interrupt, is the applicant here for this one?
I don't see Mike Taylor or Gene.
Gene's there.
Oh,
No, Gene's not here.
That's not Gene, that's.
well, applicant's not here. Would you like me to finish reading the staff report or do you want to defer?
Defer.
All right.
Now, is that we can defer to the end of the meeting? Is that possible? So you change
We
the
can amend the agenda, put it at the end if you'd like, give them the opportunity to show up. And then at that point, we can entertain a different motion.
All right, can we change the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that'll go to the end of the meeting. Thank you. So next would be the 709 North Main Street. That applicant here?
Online.
Oh, they're on. So,
Thank you. All right, Tim will read those, that staff report.
all right, so this is a request for preliminary approval for proposed renovations to the existing building for a new salon at 709 North Main Street. Property is zoned UCMX, Urban Corridor Mixed Use. Bicycle parking is required and needs to be provided on the site. The existing drive-in parking do not meet the buffer requirements of the UDO. They've attempted to meet that in a couple of locations. The board can provide an exception to that requirement. Landscaping should be added as practical. Though the 8 feet is not available, the applicant has attempted to meet the planting requirement around the perimeter of the parking lot. A reduction in the depth of the buffer would be appropriate. The proposed planting materials do not meet the minimum planting size required by section 8.7.1C, and all proposed materials are smaller than the minimum planting size. Architecturally, the design of the front addition has been refined since the last submittal. I will turn it over to Mike Nixon on Zoom.
Good evening, everybody. Got me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So to update you from the last time, we really just focused on a lot of the front entry. If you want to scroll down, Tim, into the architecture. There we go. So the part of the existing building has already been demolished, and one of the things that we talked about last time was, the feature of this facade, the main facade, was to have to emphasize the gable entry, and then have like a pause to have a hyphen in the building, and then the new addition along the front. And that was generally accepted amongst the board. There was the details that we started to get into, and one of those things was about the shutters, and the other thing was about trying to get a consistent material along the facade. So if you look at the new proposed west elevation and south elevation, the two things that we did was instead of shutters on the facade, is to go to more of a Bahamas shutter style on those two front windows. And then the other item that we added or changed was to bring the board and batten all the way through all the new addition instead of changing materials. So it's a more of a consistent material on the front facade.
Excuse me, Mike. Tim, would you mind zooming in on those buildings, the proposal? On the, maybe the west elevation, lower left? Mike, which building elevation would you like to speak from?
Oh, well, I was trying to catch, I think somebody had said at the beginning there were some new board members, so I was trying to catch people up on what was discussed last time. It's really the
Yeah,
bottom two
They're
left
just
hand.
small.
Yeah.
Like they're just small on our
Oh,
screen.
so I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So you can see in the top previous building, west elevation, there's these skinny shutters that we had applied to each side of the window, because underneath that really tall gable, there was some existing shutters. So we were trying to mimic what was done previously. It didn't gain much attention because these shutters are so narrow, they really would never cover the windows. So that we suggested, or it was suggested, to look at maybe adding Bahama shutters on the two front facades. So you can see that change there. The other change was the hyphen in the middle that transitions between the high gable and the hip roof, is to make that material underneath consistent. So we changed from just a flat fiber cementitious material to a board and batten that matched the larger addition. But we still kept standing seam metal roof to kind of help emphasize that addition versus infill versus existing building. That makes sense. Make more sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So that was the architectural changes that were requested. And then for this preliminary review, we've added the civil engineering drawings and the landscape architect's design drawings as well. So the landscape architect, we have an existing site that has a lot of constraints. And so he was tasked with trying to meet as much as possible any type of landscape buffers. And we did this by, adding a bunch of various 3-gallon shrubs along the sides and the back and the front, and then adding 4 new live oak trees, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear.
Mike, which sheet would you like us to be looking at
Oh,
right now?
I'm sorry. You can scroll back up. It's going to be, I think, 124 on your number, or 123. Yeah, there you go. So wherever we could along the front, you can see the 2 oak trees that we've added along with the buffer along the front. We've actually decreased the pervious area here on the site, so we get a little bit more yard out front instead of the asphalt that's there now. We have a nice new kind of brick patio that will have some seating out front. And then moving towards let's see, the south side, that's all like an existing gravel area underneath some existing trees. So we planted as much as we can along that border to try to create that buffer. And then in the rear parking, we've added one of those live oak trees there. You can see just to the right of that dark square, which was the previous garage that is now demolished. And then along the back side, bringing that landscaping buffer along up to the north, and then filling in as much as we can with new buffer shrubs and another live oak tree just north of the handicap parking spot. And then adding some shrubbery there along the north side to hide the HVAC condenser units. And then the civil engineering, you can see we started to work on the parking layout for the gravel path. We're essentially keeping the existing asphalt the way it is, and then infilling in with existing gravel, paving the handicap parking spot there, and bringing that over so they can enter. The handicap entrance would be at the rear instead of the front now. And that's our existing site.
Do we want to see more of the architectural details or the ramp? Where would y'all? I'm assuming you're done with the presentation.
Yeah,
I think we're pretty good on everything, except we need to approve the minimal buffers that don't meet requirements, which to me, location there is fine. 4 foot rather than 8 foot would be okay. And then really parking in the site plan.
I just have a couple of questions on the west facade, on the architecture.
yes.
Are the stairs brick? Because they're rendered in a different color.
I have them as a wood steps that would be painted gray to match the trim.
I think they would look more substantial in brick.
Okay.
And then is there an area for the business sign? How is any kind of graphics going to be incorporated in this facade?
Tom, we haven't really discussed that too much. We're going to keep the existing sign that's out, the monument sign that's out along the road, but Tom and I haven't
Yeah.
really talked about
Yeah.
the building.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just comment on that. if you pull up to the first drawing, and you get an idea of Red Pepper's old sign, we're just gonna replace it with there's not a picture of it, but if you see in that the sixth picture on the bottom of the right, we're gonna use the existing structure of the red of that sign and replace it with our new updated sign that we'll submit on our final approval. I don't have a design in mind yet, but it'd be fairly simple, wording and design when I get a chance to think of it.
I think they were asking about are you planning on putting any signage on the building?
Any
And
signs
we
on
don't,
the? Oh
yeah, we don't
no,
really have any area
no,
to do that, but
no, we don't. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the sign, the actual sign for the I guess business. So
For what it's worth, I think that sign is pretty inappropriate for this building. Really doesn't match the style. And I would not be in support of just refacing that sign panel. I think it needs to be more suited to something that looks like it belongs in a little kind of this little cottage. And that's what I would support. I wouldn't support refacing this sign. Can we look at the details for the handicap ramp? Does it match the front stairs?
That's in the back.
And is there apologize if I missed this, but is there a dumpster enclosure or trash enclosure? I think I saw a fence on one of the details or pictures.
next to we were planning on using just rollout bins, I believe, Tom.
yep, that's correct. So there is a space between those HVACs right there, that little corridor right there. That was planning to use that and utilize that space. As for the rollouts that are supported by Somerville or Carolina Waste.
So what you're saying is wherever he plans to place those bins, they need to be shielded by a fence.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
And shown on
So
the
we'll
site.
add a fence.
Yep.
If you continue down, probably for the ramp and stairs in the rear, it'll be on the architectural drawing. There we go. One more back up. So it hasn't really changed since last month, but if you scroll into the bottom left hand corner, you can see we are interested in introducing a brick base, concrete ramp, and then utilizing cable rail as the railing itself in the rear.
Details. They took all windows out.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike, do you have your window details? Seems like all the windows were removed from the building.
The windows are existing, and then we're gonna have new vinyl windows to match the existing windows. But I haven't produced any details yet for what manufacturer and how we're final details would be, but we're
Okay.
gonna be matching the existing building.
So those will be at final submittal.
Okay.
All right, well, they're asking for preliminary. I think they are gonna detail it more for
Mhm.
final. Show some of these things that we haven't seen yet.
This thing says conceptual.
The agenda says preliminary.
Okay.
Yeah, we got conceptual last month.
Yes, it's preliminary.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there anything else the board would have questions on?
I mean,
Someone like to make a motion for preliminary approval?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
All those in Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night night.
Thank you.
So next would be under new business 999 Bacon's Bridge Road. Road material change and landscaping modifications.
So this is the wash wizard that was previously approved in December of 22. Located at 999 Bacon's Bridge Road. This is right at the southeast corner of Stallsville and Bacon's Bridge. The project previously received final at the December 2022 DRB meeting. The applicant is requesting alterations midway through the construction process. The structure is compliant with all zoning requirements. The proposed shingle roof is in line with the surrounding structures in the area. The proposed plant material changes utilize trees from the town's recommended tree list, and they have been altered to accommodate overhead power lines on site. The landscaping plan meets requirements as outlined in section 8.7.1 of the UDO. The applicant is proposing a privacy wall along the east property line to reduce nuisance to the neighboring church. The privacy wall would be considered a permitted obstruction within the setback. So, so if you guys want to go ahead and get started on any presentation you want, I'm gonna try to get this to zoom in, but feel free.
Did you want us to start, or did you just want to go with questions?
I think it'd be better for you to start, maybe just give a big picture recap of what you're trying to do, even though Tim kind of said it, if you just kind of walked us through, we're doing this, and then we
Yeah.
can get into the details of it.
Sure. So three things that we're asking approval for. The first is to change from a graphite colored standing seam metal roof to a shingle Owens Corning called driftwood, which was used on the medical building that the DRB gave us kind of direction to replicate or use that as design cues and redesigning our building. We had a flat roof building that we've built 2 other locations with. We made the changes and everyone really liked those changes. However, we didn't realize the cost implications and what standing seam metal roofs have been doing. And now that we've gotten the bids back, it will save us $114,000 to use a shingle roof, and we're well over our budget and our bank loan amount. We were quite surprised at the cost of metal roofs. So since the building that you all wanted us to replicate or not replicate, but kind of design after use this shingle, and we really liked the look of it, we decided to go for that just to help get us back into within our bank loan amount that is approved and closed on. So just want to use that same shingle that's already on that other building. It's a few doors down. The second change was when we submitted our original landscape plan, the landscape designer didn't realize or plan for the overhead power lines, and they needed to have species that would be, smaller at a mature height. So we got the list from Tim of the recommended plants, and we changed that out to a Natchez crepe myrtle and a service berry. And that was just an open item from the final approval that we needed to address. And then the last item was at the exit end of our tunnel, which is on the backside of the property. We wanted to build a 14-foot tall wall that would replicate the look of the sort of decorative knee wall that's out front. And that would just be to eliminate any glare from headlights that would be exiting out of the car wash during nighttime hours, and to just reduce any noise that might be coming out at the end of the tunnel from the drying process.
Thank you for that. How about if we go this one at a time? Let's talk about the roof first. They had a standing seam metal that they had originally proposed. It was gray. They're wanting to go with the gray shingle that matches what was done, approved right down the street.
And we did kind of a before, we updated our renderings, and so you can see the before and after the 2 different materials.
Any concerns about that request?
I think it looked great.
Okay.
Actually, kind of like it. I think it looks a little better. I think the lighter gray looks a little nicer.
So second was the landscaping.
The landscape tree changes for under the power lines, yes.
To me, the landscape architect seems very reasonable. Plant choices they've used are good. This is one of the better planting plans we've seen come through. Any concerns with that?
No, I agree with you.
So the third is the wall. It'd probably help if you walk through on the plan. I think Tim was about there, where that is, and then we'll look at those details.
Yes, there's an overhead and an elevation that will show and a. Is it not showing up on there? Yeah, there we go. That's the overhead power line, so it's a few more down. There we go. So this is just a blow up there of this would be the rear of the property as you're exiting, so away from Bacon's Bridge Road. And we kind of cornered it there as you exit out. And just kind of tapered it back down into 3 gradual changes, so it wasn't like an abrupt finish. It kind of tapered back down.
Can we go to the detail, please?
I think there's another one too that might be more helpful. This one is the elevation. Yeah, I think that's probably what, yeah, if you added up the math, I didn't check the math, but that's, yeah, probably about right. Yeah.
My concern with the wall, I'm not opposed to the wall itself, is that it's just a long run of unarticulated wall. And it might look better if it had pilasters or panels kind of put in, just bring the bricks out a little bit so it looks like columns.
It goes 2 directions. It's that shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 97 feet total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The long part is in the back.
Yeah, I guess the thing is there's really no one to see it. It's wooded,
So
sort
it's
of behind.
completely screened by landscaping.
Yeah, it's
on that
not,
back
there's not
side.
much that, I mean, the back end of the church, we'll see it in the parking lot, I guess, but it's from the, it's not viewed by any traffic or anything going by the facility.
Can we view the site plan? I apologize. Where it shows the wall?
Yeah, show on if you look at the landscape plan there, that might be more helpful to see where it is on the property. So there's a big open field behind there that I believe the church is the owner of it. And it's all kind of weeded and.
So the church is to the right and the field's to the south. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's Stallsville Loop on the upper right.
That's correct. There you go. Yeah. So there's really not much that's going to see it. To, I guess, invest heavily in kind of making it really decorative, I guess. But no, yeah, my customers are going to see it leaving the car wash, of course, but we appreciate it. It's still pretty expensive as is to do, but yeah, we wanted to try to be get ahead of any issues with people. We had a couple people ask us about the headlights, and we planted some plants on our Latson Road location to block the headlights. And it seems like if you're directly in front of the tunnel, it does get some noise there. It's well below the traffic noise, but it's kind of a higher pitch sound, if you will, more like aircraft engine kind of sound. So we just wanted to take any concerns out for any future complaints that would be addressed. And
All right, any concerns on the wall then or comments?
I would echo what you said. I think it would be nice to break it up at least every 10, 15 feet with some sort of decorative fake column. Is there any concern with putting a sign on the other side of it? If it's across a field, you could see it off site. I'm just thinking of people.
They're not allowed to have a sign there.
Excellent. Thank you.
there'd be no purpose for a sign back there, as no one would see it. We're just trying to copy we have a brick wall running through the whole front of the property, so we just replicating that design. So that's why we didn't want to introduce any additional design elements to it.
And how tall is the brick wall in the front?
That one is 4 feet tall, I think.
4 feet,
Yeah,
but this is 13.
in some sections, and then we tapered it down. Just really wanted to be for the building section, and then we tapered it down just to make it, make it look better. We didn't really need to do that taper down, but I thought that would look a little unusual to have just a tall kind of corner wall there. So we wanted to taper it back down to the height of the knee wall that's out front. And that might be, if we can go back to the elevation, maybe to look at that, you can kind of get a better feel for that. So this would be kind of the view that you would see as if you're a car wash customer and you're exiting out of the car wash, that would be the vantage point of this elevation. So they're going to exit and make an immediate right turn into our vacuum area. And there'll be landscaping and I think some sky pencil hollies and things like that in front of it to help break it up too.
All right, any further discussion we need to have? Would someone like to, you're asking for final approval, right?
Yes, yes.
Is there a motion?
A motion that we grant final approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And Tim, the two of us lost our monitors. Does that mean the meeting's adjourned? I'm sorry, guys.
Lisa Wallace is on mine.
Can we recess for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Taking the bush, boss.
I think it came out like right here.
I'll do it.
Architect and IT.
Well, I have two more items.
Hey guys.
You did it. Excellent. I was gonna say, Lenny.
Holiday Drive.
I know, I was thinking that.
Anyone need to make a potty break?
Sir.
Anyone need to make a potty break?
Heart went.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
Nice when you can get downtown businesses on board with it.
That's right.
They're usually mad about stuff.
1430 Central Avenue.
All right, so this is a request for preliminary approval of a proposed replacement of a fire damaged shed for the wine bar exterior pavilion. This is their first meeting. Yeah, the project was planned prior to the fire loss. The intent is to replace the fire damaged shed that was being used for a similar purpose. The new shed will maintain the existing footprint. The shed will be finished with hardy siding, colors to match the primary structure, colors provided in the packet for DRB review, clear plastic weather protection proposed for use during colder months.
So yeah, timing is kind of crazy. It's fun. So we all know Lux Wine Bar on Central, and the building that they had in the back, which is that next picture of Tim, existing property, is yeah, right there. That is the shed that's been up there for years and years and years, and it did burn down Christmas morning. But like Tim said, before Christmas morning, it was already, yeah, it was already in the works to take that down, take the concrete down, and put in there that same footprint, a taller structure. they do like to sell snacks out there and beer and wine as well. And all of their seating area in the back is to the left of that behind the building. So the building was redone a couple years ago for Lux when they moved in, and the colors are, which I'll have those there. It's a really nice neutral silverish gray color, and then the front door has a nice kind of an aqua blue, and then all the trim is done in white and black. So the next picture shows you kind of on the existing property, how it's laid out right now, how it was for Lux, and where the parking is. Central is over there on the left-hand side, how the building has been there, who knows how long, and where the shed is now. So it's the existing shed site, same footprint, everything same size. It's going to look a little bit different though. And the next picture, since we're scrolling, you won't have the same effect, but so that's the existing property right now. I think this is right before the parking was done, but that's where the shed is now. And then the next one, of course, the shed is down, is where the proposed new shed is. This one's only about 2 feet taller. The roof pitch is similar. The open part, and you'll see that in the floor plan when we get to that, the open part's about 1/3 in the front, and it's going to have a short wall around the front and the sides to be able to get into the sides open. The back part is just going to have a front door. As you see, we're trying to mimic the same colors. It doesn't come across because the lighting makes that building look blue for some reason. So no occupancy, no sewer, no water, just electrical, and just to have some service out there for maybe bags of ice and beer and wine and drinks and snacks and stuff. Just like what it's being used for now. And then the next picture shows the color palette. Like I said, the house looks bluer in these pictures. But it would be, the siding, which we'll get to the elevations, all hardy. Our thought is to do the hardy in the front, a vertical, and do this nice charcoal gray on the bottom. We also want it vertical because when people kick it, we want it easy to replace pieces at a time. So that color is a cyberspace. We have the white hardy, which is pure white, which is also on the building, and Tinsmith is the grayish color. So it's going to be matching to the house. And then the next one shows you the elevations. Again, on the left, same, the right and the left are going to be identical with the windows. The door sits in the middle of it. So once you go inside undercover, and it's basically just for a service area. The only difference is they might put like a gate, like a short gate, so that maybe kids don't run in or something like that, or to keep customers out. But there's the floor plan right there, 2 windows on the side to make it pleasing and to look more like the building, and a countertop to serve from.
Nancy, the existing building, that the main building has horizontal siding, is that right?
Can you go back to the picture? Can you go back to the picture? Because we do, yeah, we're gonna have horizontal siding on the back. So yes, it does have horizontal siding in the front and the sides. That's why we want to keep it with the horizontal siding on the inside and on the exterior sides in the back of the building. But on the top, I guess we can go either way. We thought vertical fit better because it is kind of a newer look a little bit mixed in with the horizontal. And then of course the bottom, we wanted it horizontal only because we thought we didn't want the seams all together, and if it gets ruined, it's easily replaced.
I would like to see it match the house. I think horizontal,
Across the front?
yes.
How about, okay, so in the, like in the peak area, but what about on the bottom? Because it is.
I think the bottom, since you're doing it in a different color and you got a countertop above it,
It's
that
okay.
kind of terminates. So
Okay,
yes,
good.
it's okay.
Okay, good.
So look at the front of the house.
Mhm.
You've got that same structure. It really needs to mimic that.
So your gable end would be horizontal.
Triangle.
Right, correct.
Oh, and you know something else that is not shown on the 3D, which I just noticed? We are doing that vent to match the house as well.
So that needs to look.
Yeah.
Needs to mimic it.
Okay, and I just realized it's not on the 3D version, but it is on the elevation that we did. But okay, so we had it both ways too. All right, so we're gonna do the peak, part horizontal just to match the house.
Can you? Is there a reason why you flatten the slope of the roof and it doesn't match the house? Or can you match the house?
It's pretty close now.
It is, Tim, if you go further, can we see the slope? Is it like 3 on 12?
It looks like 4 and 12
Is it
now.
4?
I-
Seems like it should match. the
Yeah, I
front
think if
porch.
there's no specific reason
The
that you
house
flattened
is
it out,
about 5.
it should just match the house.
Okay. What is it now? Can you zoom in?
3.5 to 1 is kind of,
Okay.
that ain't much slope.
I don't think that'd be a problem and we'd be happy to do that. The door also, I guess we didn't really pick out a door, but, maybe a door with a little bit of molding in it to match the house too. I'm adding to this here. Don't tell Edward.
Won't have to, it's gonna roll on.
I know. Get myself into this every time.
I think you ought to quit while you're ahead.
I know. Can we scroll and look at the weather protection too? Oh, there it is. So we certainly want them to be prepared for the colder weather next fall and winter. And it's shown blue just because of that's how glass and, windows are shown. But it would be a clear material and taken down, lifted up and under so you don't see it, and then pulled down during the winter months. And the front may have different panels, not necessarily, so they can serve and stay warm at the same time.
Any other questions?
9.
All right, would someone like to make the motion? They're only asking for preliminary approval.
Well, I never know if I should put final when it's our first time in front of you all. So I feel a little like I'm asking too much, but I feel like.
I make a motion we grant final approval.
For a second?
thank you.
Based upon
With comments noted.
Second.
Any further discussion? Final is final with conditions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great job, as
Awesome.
usual.
Thank you guys as always.
Thank you. Next is Holiday Drive.
So the next item under new business is a request for final approval for a proposed new Nissan dealership photo booth, property zone GB general business. This is their first meeting for this particular project. The dealership is actually completed and operating at this point. The applicant is proposing a 1,344 square foot photo booth to be used by the dealership for photographing vehicles for sale. The structure is proposed to be constructed of material to match the larger facility on the property. Same colors are proposed. The property is zone GB and a 5-foot wide foundation planting area is required. The entrance to the booth is also offset with the parking lot island, but there's adequate maneuverability area in the aisle that this is not a critical issue. Just wanted to point it out.
All right, if you just want to roll through.
Yeah, so Tim did a great job introducing this. So this is a photo booth for the Somerville Nissan project. The project was completed, as Tim said. During the construction of the project, they kind of realized that they needed a place that's separated from the rest of the inventory to take photos of the actual cars, post online. They needed a place that was enclosed and without windows. So we have the 30 by 42 building that we're proposing. It's taking the place of existing asphalt, and we're matching the materials.
It's visible more from the interstate than it is from Holiday Drive. right?
Correct. But even if you, Tim, if you can flip through to the renderings. Keep going. So if you actually go to the, when Tim gets the renderings, you can see that the existing landscaping that was proposed as part of the Somerville Nissan project makes it pretty difficult to determine what is the existing Somerville Nissan building versus what is the proposed photo booth. Okay. That's okay.
This building's not open to the public, right?
No.
Tim, can you zoom in? That's the building?
So,
Right.
yes, that is the elevation of the building. And in speaking with Tim during TRC, we realized that the building materials didn't come through as clearly as we would have liked. So Dale will show you. The darker hatch is the difference between. There's like a smoother material versus a textured material. And then those. With stripes of smooth. Yeah. And those materials do match the existing building that was constructed, so.
Any questions or concerns?
I think it's ugly.
That's concern.
Can you show us on the site where it's located again and visibility from 26?
So 26 is on the top of the plan. And then the actual building is top center.
Do you have elevations of the car wash with you?
We do not. We do have a picture of the textures for the material. And then the color is a little bit different than the actual image.
How tall is the building in?
It's 18 feet, I think.
Oh, it is 18 feet.
Yeah. So it's 18 by 30 by 42. So it's a smaller than this room.
Is there any proposed landscaping around this?
Foundation plantings in TRC. So there'd be a 5-foot strip around the perimeter of the building.
That wasn't, that
That
wasn't shown.
Correct. So TRC was on Tuesday. So
Okay.
we tried to incorporate the elevation comment per our discussion as quickly as we could, and then we'll revise the plans for the foundation plantings.
Could you put a parapet wall on that
Uh,
would be the same material as the parapet wall on the main building?
So I believe it has a parapet wall on,
You probably do, but it's the same material as the building.
correct.
And if you went with the same material, which is a metal material
Mhm.
on the building itself, the main building, might tie in a little better, I don't know.
Okay, we can look at that.
We've
So does
already
it-
got, we've already got enough negative comments just on the whole project
Does this building,
Understood.
as it came in.
We would like to keep the existing architecture in place. This is a small building in relation to the rest of the dealership, and we don't really want to turn this into a focal point when it's a building not access to the public. It's got, 2 small rooms and then room for basically a vehicle. I mean, this is a large garage, basically.
Well, because the building's so small, the parapet wall, it'd be metal, and it'd be the same kind of metal that's on the building,
Mhm.
the main building. Particularly on the, Holiday Drive facade.
Okay,
And, it'd look a little better.
okay. We don't represent the architect, so we'll take that and pass that along.
I'm just a little confused. The photograph shows the existing building and it's sort of an off-white black. But then what you
It's-
showed,
it's-
the sample, was that just for texture or for color?
It's just for texture.
Okay, so you're just matching.
This is the actual material, like the color and material. So on the slide with the. Tim, can you click the 175?
Yeah, so the top left, that is the color, and the picture is just showing texture of a previous project, not the current Nissan.
Okay. So again, what you're proposing matches the existing Nissan. Texture, color,
Correct.
height, cornice detail.
The height will be lower because it's only
Okay.
18 foot, but yes, the material's correct.
Okay.
Is there any way to add some sort of depth to this as opposed to just a square box or a rectangular box?
It's only 30 by 42. I mean,
I know, but since it's got such visibility on 26,
Um,
I mean, I've seen prisons that look nicer than this. No offense.
no, we understand, this is a pretty simple building. We can have that conversation with the architect.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual visibility, like you see the building, but there is street planting, plantings along the rear of 26. I don't know if we have those shown on the site plan, but there is plantings along, so this is a 18 foot tall building, which is then screened by understory trees.
Mhm.
So even though it will be visible, it is blended into the existing building. So we're trying not to change any of the materials, any facade, anything like that, if we can. I don't think it's gonna make it look any worse.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I voted against it the first 3 times. But I don't know if we would have approved that building originally. Right? Because it just looks like a concrete block building, like with no articulation or anything like that.
Looks like a tall dumpster enclosure.
It does. And if it was not a building, it was a dumpster enclosure, we'd probably go, okay, well,
Yeah.
a nice dumpster enclosure.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think we've got a couple choices, approve it as is, make some pretty significant modifications, or maybe just add landscaping to the foundation of the building, which is tall, that screens it, like a holly.
Well, that's a good
Tree hedge or
idea
something.
because you don't have your windows.
Right. Yeah, and you don't need it for marketability from the interstate.
Correct.
Just put some foster hollies or whatever around it and it's hidden and it's gone.
How about the vine that grows up the side?
For both, yeah. But it's like a Savannah holly tree, put them tip to tip at install.
That's a practical solution.
And I mean, you have to make your landscape area at least 10 feet deep from the back of the building to edge
Then
pavement.
can you go back to the site plan if you could? Okay.
Well, I mean,
I'm just trying to understand where that falls in the drive aisles, that's all. But we do have to incorporate a 5-foot landscape strip as well per TRC, so. we
we've
can-
got a lot of room in front of it. That can probably be,
That's a drive aisle,
yeah, but it's 40 feet. It only needs to be 24.
correct?
So, I mean, you could move the building into the drive aisle a little bit and add landscaping on the back. I
Mhm.
mean, you've got an extra 16 feet in there.
Yeah.
So if you added a portion of that 16 feet, at least 10 feet in the back, maybe that could get you there.
Okay,
Otherwise, I think it's gonna be hard to get it through.
understood.
So, are we kind of all in agreement that that's kind of a way to go?
Yeah.
So the
Yep.
choices
I
are
think so.
final approval with conditions, maybe it goes to staff or a subcommittee, or the choice would probably be denial. Denial of the motion, so. And asking for a final. So would someone like to take a motion?
I motion that we grant, final preliminary approval based with additional landscaping
As described,
as we talked
Okay.
about.
on the conditions. So Tim, would that just go straight to you?
I am actually requesting updated site plans to be submitted to me so that I can stamp them. Now I'm gonna try to do that. So they would need to do that anyways before they apply for permit. So I would, yes, I will verify that they meet those conditions and that they're providing, that, at that time.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And our prior move in the agenda, Mr. Brislin has shown up and should be able to discuss the project.
So we're gonna, we
Go back.
deferred or moved 603 West Fifth North down to the last item.
Mr. Taylor's in Florida. I was teaching a seminar until 5 o'clock when I got an email, said, hey, can you go to a meeting?
Are we looking for final approval?
I think
Yes.
so, yes.
Okay.
Let me find it.
I've been talking for 8 hours today, so I'm not gonna talk much. My throat has killed me.
All right.
Need some water or something?
No, it's just sore to talk on seminars for 8 hours. Just
Okay.
half-hour break for lunch and that's it.
So this is a request for final approval for a proposed new 5,000 square foot office building, property zone NMX neighborhood mixed use. Previously received preliminary approval at the December 21st meeting. So the tree removal permit has been applied for. The site plan still does need to be overlaid on the tree survey to show how the trees have been taken into account for the design and layout for the site and buildings. All landscape islands must meet the minimum size requirements of section 8.5.3. The center parking spaces are laid out with a small space between the edge of curb and the parking space on the ends. This area should be incorporated into the landscape islands to provide additional space for the proposed landscaping. The plan shows that all parking spaces are within 60 feet of a canopy tree, which is per ordinance. As was discussed at the last meeting, though the property is mixed-use zoning, there is more than enough room to provide landscaping at the foundation and in the front of the building, which they have provided some of that in the site plan. Here. I can get the computer to work with me. There is a conflict between the tree removal plan and the landscape plans. The tree removal plan shows trees being saved in the areas where the palmetto trees are proposed on the landscaping plan. The preserved trees should be shown on the landscape plan to show how they contribute to the overall landscape plan. There should be a pedestrian connection from the site to the primary frontage, and it should be verified, again, that the plan is taking into account the Highway 78 widening project. Architecturally, there's not been major changes to the plans and the colors have been provided. We had discussed previously, what it is from the center line of 78 to what they would be taking. They're proposing 120-foot right of way, which would be 60 feet from center line. I believe I kind of showed it on the last one here. They do have enough room, obviously, but that plan, that should be indicated on the plan as we've done with all of the other developments that have occurred through this corridor. Other than that, and my staff comments concerning the striping here, instead of having these weird offset here, that could easily be incorporated into these landscaped islands to make a better planting area for the site. And I will turn it over to Mr. Brislin if he has any other comments.
Can you go to the tree survey? That one right there.
Yes.
All right, so there is the building and parking lot showing removal of the trees.
Yes, so you have all of them clearly marked and this will be going to the tree protection board
Okay.
in the first thing in February. You know, you have these shown as being saved and a couple here at the corner shown as being saved.
Mhm.
And then when we look at the landscape plan, we don't have those indicated on the plan.
The gray ones are existing. Those are all the ones that are staying.
Okay, so
Those are existing.
then it needs to be clear on the plan, call out existing,
Okay, everything
indicate
just,
what's what.
I'm sorry it wasn't, just for your knowledge, everything that's gray is staying and existing.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Beyond that, I can,
So we provided a lighting plan too, if you could go down a couple of pages. Yeah, that's the renderings, but there should be ice, well, it's a supplemental, go back up.
they get out of order.
So that you got the 3D basically the isometric lightings and it's about a half a foot candle average over the whole site. Under the lights, it's about 1.5 foot candle. The owner requested up and down lights along the front and the back, but the canopies make those useless because the light just shines underneath the canopy. So those are actually just down lights. Mike asked for the lights on the sides. So, yeah, that's the proposed lighting. Can you go to, C 1.2, go up. Yeah. So we're miss that. Probably me, Tim. We didn't get you the right, can you go to the colored landscape plan? Maybe I showed it there. The one mistake, yeah, you can see them on that one there. The one difference in that landscape plan, is there's a box hedge over on the right side, which they require, which is shown on the colored plan, but is not on the landscape plan. That was my bad. I had it on the previous one and in the translation, I didn't get it on that plan. So, and so there was a discussion, I think Bill brought up about, the foliage over there on the left-hand side. So that's why I tried to show the existing trees, and then we've added some shrubs lower to show, create some boundary over there, I guess, even though it's not really needed, not by the code. We've also added the foliage, or tried to add some foliage, or at least I showed Mike's 2 palm trees he likes, and some hollies and stuff around the building in that 5-foot buffer. Glad to know all the architecture and paint stuff is okay, because I don't know anything about that. Mike said that there was a paint problem. He said, hopefully it'll be okay.
Was there a discussion of trash enclosure? Do you know how trash is being handled?
Yeah, there's a dumpster in the back left side that's got an enclosure around it. And then I did a swept path. That's for the garbage truck and fire truck to get around.
Is there a detail for the dumpster enclosure?
I don't have it yet. I do have one. I was going to make it match the building as much as possible in terms of some type of siding, you know, with a wood panel. And some, but I don't have it yet, no. Let me rephrase that. Have one, not on the drawings.
Can you describe the rationale with the parking, the kind of the extra parking
Yeah.
stripes that Tim
Yeah.
describes?
You mentioned 9 feet. I drew it 9 feet and divvied it up. I don't have a problem making it 10 or 11. I just drew it 9 feet. So there was no rhyme or reason to that. I'd be more than happy to make it a little wider so that the 9-foot spaces work flush. There's 2 trees in each one of those and 6 bushes in those islands. So it creates some, and I wanted something different color, I thought, so we used the red maple in those instead of the green it's everywhere around.
So then, you're gonna bring the curbs out to where the parking stripes are, meaning that central island?
Yes, would get wider in, so it would match the 9-foot line. Yeah.
Got
So
it.
so that little gap,
Yeah.
that little
yeah.
1-foot space will disappear. It'll be part of the island.
Same with at the handicap spots.
Yes.
'Cause on both sides of that center island, you have extra asphalt, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, we can do the same thing there. That'd be fun. We'll probably make yeah, I'll probably make the unloading zone wider.
All right, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, might be wrong, but at the dumpster enclosures, usually there's a island between the end of the parking and the dumpster enclosure for a tree or landscaping. If that's what it used to be.
No,
Not
I
now,
don't.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did add spaces back that Bill mentioned along the side there to get the client some more. Mike wanted some more parking, so.
Are the condenser units screened? I thought I saw them on the other patients. Can you show where they're at?
Yeah, they will be. They're not on my plan yet. I haven't seen anything from Mike on the HVAC stuff, but yes, we'll put screening around those too. I have a screening detail for that too. So what I want to do, you know, typically we just use wood ones, but I told Mike, I said, I want to do them where they put siding on them and match the building. So I want them to look kind of like you know, if he's using hardy plank, to put hardy plank. So we'll build it wood.
Oh, it's on the rear elevation on that side. I thought I saw a plan earlier that had the electrical meter locations. I think it's on the rear elevation on the lower left.
Yeah, he may, I don't have those plans, so I don't know yet.
It would be good to have a screen in front of that too.
Sure.
I mean, you have to have that distance, it's minimum 3 feet or 5 feet
Yeah,
or
so
whatever
30,
it is.
yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
But that would be suggestion.
That's fine.
Tim, can you go up one, please?
I'm trying.
Oh,
So you are
It's
gonna
not like me
screen
today.
the condenser units.
Yeah.
And the electrical meters with material that matches the building. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Correct. I'm speaking for Mike there, but yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, I see. That's the first I've seen that, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's on the,
I see it now. I see it. Yeah.
I think it's
yeah,
on
yeah.
both ends of the building actually, because thought I saw one earlier.
He's on both sides. Yeah, he has one on both sides, isn't he? Right and left. Oh, I said right twice. Okay.
What is that?
The electrical box he's got, and they may end up with a raceway or something. I don't know what they're gonna do. You know, we'll have to wait and see, but I agree with you. We can screen that. Whatever. Suggest. Yeah.
There's not one on the left though, is there? I
don't think so. Again, this is the first
Yeah,
I've
there we
seen.
go.
it.
You
The
don't
panels need to
want
be
meter
painted
thing.
to match the
Small
building,
building.
so with landscaping and painting,
Where he's got
a
AC
separate
and
structure
things
might
work,
not be necessary.
Why is that?
because they're
Okay.
too far from the middle of the building. They're gonna have to rework the AC locations too.
We're probably missing a transformer too.
There's a transformer
Backflow
going,
preventer.
they could be pole mounted, but I doubt it. There's probably a transformer pad somewhere on the property.
not there now, but I mean, yes, well, and again, yes, I don't know where that's gonna go yet. I haven't,
I think if you go back, I don't know if you got enough room for those condenser units on the ends of the building,
on the backside.
on the ends of the building, left and right ends. You can get them in there if you move your sidewalks. You got room if you move the sidewalk.
Yeah. And I don't, I'm not doing the HV, I'm not doing that stuff on this building, so I don't know what their plan is. I'll have to kind of figure that out. But
Yeah. We could let staff approve that.
I mean, I can tell you, we're gonna screen them wherever we put them. We're gonna screen them so that they're not visible, and we're gonna screen them to match the building. So, I'll have to talk to Mike and
But
figure.
you need 3 feet clear around the units. Is
Yes, the service.
Got what you need.
Yep.
3 foot and clear of the electrical panels and.
Well, I think those need to be shown on the plan. I don't think they are.
They need to be shown.
And the, Gene, can we go to the landscape? Appreciate the effort on the landscape. We had talked about, I think we talked about on that left side, or maybe just somewhere incorporating azaleas. I didn't see azaleas.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't do azalea plants. I did different bushes.
Yeah. Love to see some azaleas. Nandina is considered a
Intrusive?
invasive plant.
Yeah.
And then Celtis lavagata under botanical name, hackberry. I think it was wrong. It's different on the one you sent. That's not readily available, and it dropped a lot of tar on cars. So it probably is not a good choice, to be honest. I was hoping to see a little bit more robust foundation planting. Like I said last time, Mike usually does a real good job on that, but it's just not shown on the plan.
I asked him, and that's, I provided something, waiting for some input from him. I didn't get any. So, I mean, if you want more, then we just need to tell Mike you need to add more.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think it's the art. I don't think we've ever really had huge concerns on architecture. He's responded well. I think the civil package is more at a preliminary level than it is final.
Yeah, well, the last time I came, I had 2 days notice before I showed
Yeah.
up with drawings.
Yeah.
Right, so I showed up and did 5 drawings in 2 days. Right, so this time I've added a lot to it based on your input. But not much from Mike, but I'm trying to get to where, you guys are happy and he's happy.
I think it's just missing some details. It's at a preliminary level. It's not a final. I mean, I wish it was at a final, but it's more.
So
like,
what, besides the enclosures and the possible changing of bushes, what would get us to a final?
Well, it's missing a lot of labels. The site plan is going to change.
But this is, I mean, we're in it's not permitting, right? We're just trying to get through approval here, right?
Approval at DRB is usually like an 80% construction document level, between 60 and 80. So we do review the grading. We do review a lot. That's why we have a civil engineer on the board. Used to be 2 civil engineers on the board. DRB typically is at least 60%, if not an 80% construction document. It's not just aesthetics. It's primarily aesthetics, but that's not our only duty. So there's a good bit missing. I mean, that's my opinion. If someone else has a different opinion, open to it. And can you describe it was on one of the other plans. I forget what you called it. Was that a trench drain or a bioswale or something over to the right?
Yeah, infiltration trench, right, to catch the runoff from the parking lot. Probably have I haven't run the stormwater calculations yet, right, because I'm not at 80%.
Right.
So, but it'll be similar to what I did on North Cedar. I do it on all my projects, even if they're less than half an acre. So we're going to catch that water. The natural flow is to the Palmetto Street side. And so we will try to probably follow that natural flow for the exit from the infiltration trench. But that's I don't know, currently there's a swale out there on the front with the widening. I don't know where that's gonna go, whether they're gonna culvert that or what, but anyways, that's our intent right now.
Any other comments or questions? Did we kind of cover all the staff comments? Okay. All right, they're asking for final approval. We just need a motion.
So did you commit that you're able to do more robust foundation planning?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do whatever. Yeah, again, as a designer, you try to talk to the client and figure out what they want. You ask them for input. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. You make a guess at, okay, well, this should be based on discussions, what they want, i.e. the 2 palm trees. I only heard that in one conversation, but I added them. And so, we're trying to meet the requirements of the town, and I'm more than happy, and I think Mike is too, more than happy to handle whatever plants you want. I was unclear that I had to specifically add azaleas, but I'll be happy to go back and change those to azaleas. I just thought you wanted bushes over there based on the discussion with Bill, but we can go back and make them specifically azaleas.
Suggestion. Azaleas would be great.
No, it's not a suggestion. You want into azaleas, we'll add the azaleas. It's okay.
Fine. Okay. However you want to take it. So I've asked for a motion.
I'll make a motion for final approval based on comments. Yep,
So it's conditional approval.
conditional, well, final approval
Yeah, final approval with conditions on it.
with condition.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Tim, do we need to clarify the conditions or how those get approved? Or I mean, the staff kind of just check all the conditions and?
That's why I take the notes, but if you want to be very specific, I'm happy to take those notes right
Well,
now.
you've already got all the conditions.
I'm-
except for changing the
So where we discussed
You gotta have screen.
HVAC mechanicals being screened appropriately, including the electrical panels on the building. We discussed increasing the landscaping at the foundation, addressing staff comments concerning the landscaped islands in the center of the parking lot, as well as the center walkway adjacent to the handicap parking spaces. Switching out, revisiting the materials, making sure no invasive and better or different trees for the hackberry is not a great choice. Dumpster enclosure detail. And I think that covers those points. So I mean, those are all pretty straightforward. If the screening for the dumpster matches the building and the screening for the HVAC and all that, if you guys are comfortable doing it, I can do it. I will ask them to, as I said earlier, I will need a final approval set so that I can say approved and then they can apply for their permits, because I'm getting too many differences between final approval, what was granted, and then whatever gets submitted and we're having to backtrack again. So I've added that step to the process.
There's a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, under miscellaneous, we do have our annual election of officers. Currently, our chairman is Mr. Campo, our former assistant chairman, whatever, vice chairman, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, is no longer on the board. We usually take nominations and then vote.
I'll make nomination for Chris return as chairman and Peter become vice chairman.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? happy to continue to serve, happy to turn it over too, so. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you so much.
Unanimous.
All right.
To adjourn.
Second. Vote with your feet.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Oh, boy. You really go now? Oh. Thank you. 3 months.